Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. I'm glad to hear this morning we have a big show lined up, a special guest here. But first, let's take a look at our weather, brought to us by Gulf Coast Air Conditioning. Drew Pollard and hard-working crew taking care of our everyday comfort needs in this hot weather. And the hot weather today is 97 the high on the coast. Inland, like I say, yesterday it'll be about 140 degrees, it feels like, but it's just hot, and we hopefully get through this pretty soon. Don't get outside and get too hot. Low's gonna be 77, just like yesterday. Water temperature, again, 88 degrees. Let's take a look at our river readings brought to us by Panama City, Coca-Cola. Good folks down there. We're looking at, the rivers are getting low now. The Apalachicola to Brunstown, 5.5. And how about the Choctawhatchee at Caryville, 2.3. Both our rivers are low, and so be careful this weekend if you're getting out. Be watching for snags and stumps and everything. So it's going to be good fishing though. But go early or go late. Take a look at our tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn. Looking at the high tide at 4:40 this morning. Low tide is going out strong till about 5:07 this afternoon. And like I said yesterday, good outgoing tide the rest of this week. Strong outgoing tide. Wind's going to be coming north-northwest at about 5 to 10. Not too bad. Let's take a break. We'll come back with our special guest. Okay, welcome back, and another familiar face here on Panhandle Outdoors, Officer Chris Foley from the FWC. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so we've been talking, all kinds of things been going on. You had a little bit of time off, but you got to go to the Keys, and not to recreation, but to work.
Yep, no, to work. Since last time I was here, I deployed down to mini lobster season in the Keys, and a couple other officers from our area did, and it was a real good time. You know, made some good lobster cases. Most people were doing what they were supposed to, but like always, you know, some people thought they could skirt the law a little bit.
Like always, it could be anything in outdoors. Most people are going to do what they're supposed to do, and then you have the outlaws. But anyway, we've got all kinds of stuff going on with FWC, so you got a lot of notes and all, so
I do.
What you want to talk about?
All right, let's get into it. So since the last time I was here, as all you know, Florida was affected by a hurricane. You know, if you or anyone you know was impacted by the hurricane, we hope that you're doing safe and doing okay. And I know officers from our area and all over the state have deployed to those areas impacted to help with disaster relief. And luckily in our area, you know, we weren't impacted as bad and got really lucky. It skirted us. You know, I know it was kind of touch and go there for a second. So I just wanted to touch on that and say now, even though we got missed, now's not the time to get complacent. Hurricane season does go all the way through November. So please, even though we got safe this time, take a breath, say your thanks, but also stay vigilant. Make sure that you do have a plan if one does come our way. Make sure you have batteries. If you have a generator, make sure you have good gasoline for it. Make sure that if you need water stored, have water, all the different supplies you need, and also be a good neighbor. Check on your neighbors and friends. Make sure they have everything they need. Don't be hoarding 10 pallets of water if you don't need it. Look out for one another. So just wanted to get that out there and make sure everyone knows, hey, we were missed and we're very lucky for it, but these storms can pop up very quickly. So just make sure you're staying in the news and listening to the Department of Emergency Management for any. Well
said, Chris, because we need to be reminded of that. I don't care how much of a veterans we are, we know that, but we still need to be reminded of it. And I got to do this, I got to do that. Let's go ahead and do it, because sometimes we don't have much time to get ready.
Yep.
And so I'm glad you mentioned that.
Okay. Exactly. So let's transition to something a little more fun to talk about. We'll get on a fun subject. So gator season. Gator season is the 15th, so it'd actually be tomorrow. If you pulled a tag for period 1, which is the 15th through the 21st. So if y'all got a gator tag, first of all, congratulations. I've never pulled one myself. I know people think that as game wardens we can do what we want, but I got to follow the same rules as you, and I did not get a gator tag.
It's hard to get one, isn't it?
It's very hard to get one. So congratulations if you got one. And if it's your first time, there are lots of rules and different things you need to know if you are going to be out there and going gator hunting. First, the bag limit, which with tags you'll get 2 of them, so you can only harvest two alligators. Now, if you do have tags and you reach your bag limit and your buddy has tags, you are able to go and assist. So just because you got your 2 doesn't mean you have to stay out of the fun. If you have a buddy that also pulled tags, you can assist them with hunting as well. There's going to be 4 periods total. So your tag will tell you, when you can hunt. But say if you get a period and you don't get an alligator in that period, don't worry. There is going to be the 7-week open period that goes from September 12th through November 8th. So if the period you pulled and those dates and you weren't able to harvest it or for whatever reason, you will have an opportunity later on to get some gators if you weren't able to. Now, when you get gators, we're not like Louisiana or, you watch that show Swamp People where, we're Floridians, so you cannot use firearms unless it's a bang stick. So no rifles, shotguns, pistols, anything like that. You have to use a bang stick. There's also some rules as far as the kind of lures and lines and things you need. You can't use baited hooks. So any questions you have, go to myfwc.com under the alligators, because there are lots of rules and some nuances to how you can and cannot harvest. And while you're doing that, please be safe. Alligators, as we all know, they have sharp teeth. They have a very strong bite, and they can turn around really quickly, even if they look all big and bulbous and looks like they've been eaten well and can't move fast. I can assure you that they can turn around on you quick. So please be safe. If anything happens, seek medical, attention immediately. Even if it's just a scratch or anything as you're pulling them out, you can get a pretty nasty infection pretty quickly. So make sure you're doing all that, taking the necessary precautions.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah. On infection, you get infected really quick, like you said. Now, is it going to be open statewide or just in different areas?
So it will be statewide, but again, you're going to want to check. There are different areas where you can't harvest, and there's also certain areas that will have different hours as far as harvesting, like some of our stormwater treatment areas if you happen to pull a tag somewhere down south. So make sure you look at that, because I believe the harvest times in those STAs are 5 p.m. to 10 a.m., but almost everywhere else it is 24 hours where you're able to harvest.
That's interesting. You don't think of gators in the storm treatment ponds and all, do you? But I guess there are.
Well, as we say here in Florida, if there's water, there's probably an alligator in it.
That's interesting. Never thought about looking around those places.
Yep. So if you are going to be harvesting at night, please be safe. Even in the act of hunting alligators, you still have to follow all the navigational rules and everything as far as nav lights and vessel lights and traffic like that. So just because you're actively hunting doesn't mean that you can turn off all your lights and try to be sneaky. You still have to have your nav lights on, anchor light on, and all the required safety gear as well. Biggest thing though is don't take firearms with you. You can gig them, you can spear them, you can use a bang stick, you can pull them up on shore on a line and wrestle them if you need to, and do whatever you got to do, but just no firearms. Or besides a bang stick.
Okay. All right. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back with Chris. Okay, welcome back. FWC Officer Chris Foley, Public Information Officer, always gracious about coming on the show and sharing all kind of information and all kind of things going on. The big thing here in the Panhandle coming up Friday is scallop season. So from y'all, I've talked about it some and we've shared it, but from your point of view as FWC officer, and I know the boys down there in Gulf County getting all set. So tell us about it.
We're getting all geared up. I may sound like a broken record because I know you've been talking about it, but it's a big thing in our area. It's a lot of fun. It can be a great thing to do with the whole family, but with anything where you're diving in the water, there can be some dangers and things. So I just want to reiterate some points that I'm sure you've already touched on. But so it is opening Friday. It'll be in the Gulf County area, which is the waters from the Mexico Beach Canal to the westernmost point of St. Vincent Island. That'll be August 16th through September 24th. So you'll have that whole time to get out there and get you some scallops. While you're out there, south of Black Island, you're going to see some FWC buoys out there. So that is a scallop restoration area, so you cannot harvest in that area. So if you're out there and you see those buoys, make sure that you're scalloping outside of those.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that. I hadn't talked about that. I know they've had those before, and then one year they didn't have them. So how big of an area is that? Is it just in like it's going to be roped off? Will it have FWC on it?
So it won't be roped off. There will be buoys though, so it'll be like 4 points, and you just can't harvest scallops in that area. Now, if for whatever reason, if you do have to transit through that area and you have scallops that you've legally harvested on your vessel, that's okay. You just have to be in full transit. You cannot stop in that area. It's similar to, if you're fishing in federal waters and it's something that's closed in state, you have to be in full transit back to the dock. Same thing with scallops.
This is really good, Chris. I'll tell you what I've done in the past. I've actually gotten the smaller ones and got close to there and thrown them in there. I really have. And if you have a chance, if you don't get a smaller one, some people are going to come in and keep them. But I've never kept smaller ones, but I've started collecting a few smaller ones and get close to it and just toss them in there. And so anyway, I guess because we're trying to save the seeds of them, and that's good. Okay.
No, yeah, exactly. In those areas, we've talked about some of our conservation efforts in the past when I've been on here. So make sure you're not in that area because we want those restoration areas to grow, and so y'all can keep scalloping and keep maybe get longer seasons and things like that. So as far as bag limits per person, I'm sure you guys might know this, but it's going to be 2 gallons if they're in whole condition, or 1 pint if you shuck them and have the meat. Now, the point I wanted to make was make sure if you do shuck the meat, have a standardized measuring cup, even if it's a measuring cup or some sort of device that has it, because a lot of people will use Ziploc bags, and you can probably stuff more scallop meat, push it down and everything than what the bag would actually hold. And our officers are going to be checking that while they're out there. So please make sure you have some sort of standard measuring cup or measurement device, whether it's the one you get from the kitchen cabinet. And for a vessel, it'll be 10 gallons or half a gallon if they are shucked. So if you're just using Ziploc bags, please make sure you're really being careful, because it's easy to go over the bag limit on some of those Ziploc bags, so they can stretch and you can keep stuffing them in there, and you don't want to be caught with over the bag. And also while you're in the water diving, you got kids in there, families, everyone's trying to have a good time. Make sure you have a dive flag. I know our officers are going to be out there looking for dive flag violations. Unfortunately here in the state of Florida, we have too many diving accidents where having a dive flag up could have avoided a tragedy. So make sure that you have a dive flag on the highest point of your vessel. Make sure that can be seen 360 degrees, and make sure it has some sort of stiffening agent in it to where if it's not a windy day, that the flag will still be stiff and can be seen even if it's not blowing.
That is so important, because it's got to be at the highest point on the boat. You can't put it down there in a little hole down there and have everything above it. So I've seen boats do that, and maybe they don't know the rule and all, but that's where it's got to be high.
Yep. Make sure it's in good condition too. Make sure that it's not faded. Make sure that's not tattered. That it is in good condition. Because if I'm pulling up to a boat and I can't tell what your flag is, then someone who doesn't check them every day definitely won't know what it is. I've seen people try to hang life jackets or a pair of swim trunks as their dive flag, and that does not work. So
that's some of my friends from Weewall. I know y'all been doing that. You can't do that anymore now. Okay? Listen. How far away from the boat can they get? Okay, to 300 feet. But they got to have a little flag with them and start getting. Some of us, including me and Carl Andrews, we just take off. Yep. We got to have a little individual.
Exactly. So it's 300 feet or 100 yards. You have to stay within that dive flag. Now, if you are going to go past that, you can have a buoy attached to you or a drop buoy or something that has a dive flag on it if you do want to venture out farther than your vessel. So you can have those if you are going to get more than 300 feet. And the same rule applies if you have one of those drop buoys or one attached to you, you can't get more than 100 yards away from it. Okay. If you're going to use one of those buoys in the water with you, a flag with you in the water, it can be a little smaller. It can be 12 by 12, where on a vessel, let me get these measurements right, 20 by 24. So it doesn't have to be the big massive flag that you need on your vessel, but make sure you're within those 100 yards. And also on the other side of that, if you're operating a vessel and you see one of those flags and you get within 100 yards of it, you have to come down to idle speed. So not slow speed, you have to come down to idle speed if you're within those 100 yards.
Yeah. For you people in the back, we're going to repeat that, because listen, I've seen it out there. People fly through. It's not as bad now because it's more crowded, but man, you've got to slow down, especially like on Saturday morning. I promise you, Saturday morning, there are going to be people flying all over the place. So just slow down.
Yeah, and make sure too, wherever you are diving, if you are diving next to anywhere that could obstruct another vessel's vision, if you happen to be diving by a bridge or by some structure or something like that, make sure that flag can be seen 360 around that structure. Because if a boat's coming around somewhere and they would have been able to see your flag, but it's hidden behind something, that's why it has to be at the highest point. Because sometimes these flags are hidden by bimini tops or even by a bridge or a dock or whatever the case may be. And the whole purpose of that dive flag is so other vessels will alter their course of action based on that dive flag to keep people safe. So just make sure that you're aware of your surroundings, and when you're putting that flag up, and make sure it can be seen from a 360 degree.
Yeah. And of course, don't take your phone in the water. Leave it on the boat. And, but I always have some first aid kits and all around because kids are gonna get scratched up and all kinds. So I always have some. Lots of people forget about doing that kind of stuff. Okay, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Let's take a quick look at our fishing game times today, brought to us by Blue Water Outriggers in Port St. Joe. Don't forget to run by there and get that little booty bag for scalloping. They're supposed to have them, and we're going to check on them. Our times today, 6:58 to 8:58. This morning, tonight, 7:26 to 9:26. Okay, Chris, what else we got here, buddy? You got all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, well, I figured, like I said, I just did come back from the Keys and figured y'all might find something interesting. So I brought a photo to show y'all of a case that was made in the Keys. Ooh. So right here we've got 3 rung lobster tails. So this is a big no-no if you ever go down to mini season or regular lobster season, which is going on right now, that lobsters have to be landed in whole condition. So some gentlemen were found diving, and these lobster tails fell out of the guy's pockets while he was in the water.
Fell out of his pocket.
Yeah, he was just wringing the tails and putting them in his pocket. So I just figured that might be an interesting thing. If some of y'all have never maybe seen a spiny lobster tail, or something you want to get interested in the future, these are the kinds of violations that we see quite often, and that we want all of y'all to avoid, to go down there and have a good time. Talking about putting them in your pockets, I know with scallops, you might put them in your pockets when you're swimming around, so just make sure that those shells don't, cut you and nick you or anything.
Yeah.
While I was down in the Keys, there was an unfortunate accident that did happen with diving. A gentleman was diving close to a bridge and actually got run over by a boat. So it's a stark reminder that we're about to have something very similar to mini season, right? We're about to have scallop season that everyone gets excited for and all those kinds of things. But prop strikes and getting run over by boats is something that unfortunately does happen. I saw it firsthand when I was down there during mini season, and we want to avoid it this scallop season.
A young, healthy man, 21 years old, and he was just sort of behind the bridge piling or whatever, and the prop just cut him bad.
Yeah.
He was lucky to live.
He was very lucky to live. And I think at the couple times I've been on here, I've talked about boating safety a lot. I've really probably reiterated it, and I may sound like a broken record, and y'all might be tired of me hearing saying it, but the whole reason that I keep saying it, and especially when it comes to dive flags and scallop season coming up, is we want to avoid any sort of dive accidents like that. So please, please, please make sure you have your dive flag up, make sure your head's on a swivel. If you're driving a boat, keep an eye out for dive flags, because these prop strikes they unfortunately can happen, and they're usually pretty bad when they do. So we want to avoid that at all costs.
True. Okay. Yeah. What else you got?
So just to reiterate again, like I said last time, Gag Grouper will open September 1st. So hopefully y'all are looking forward to that. Go out there and get you some. The season this year is a little different. It's only gonna be 2 weeks, so September 1st through the 15th. So make sure y'all are keeping up with that. And also Red Snapper, the first 61 days, that season is come and gone. So make sure that y'all are keeping an eye out for when those fall seasons come as well, and take advantage of that, because that's something new and exciting this year. And you can go catch you some red snapper on Thanksgiving, which will be some fun
awesome
stuff to do.
Well, all these weekends are going to be open. That's going to be really nice. You can have fresh snapper all the way up to Christmas almost. It really is good around Thanksgiving after all the turkey and all.
Yeah. And this weekend's going to be, even if you're not partaking in scalloping this weekend, but you are getting out on the water, boat traffic will be a lot higher. So make sure you're looking out for other vessels and people in the water. I know, the people that are going to be out there scalloping will be very privy to see the dive flags and look for people in the water. But if you're just, going out there recreating, or maybe you happen to find this on YouTube and you're coming in town for the weekend, just know that is going on, and that there's going to be lots of boats out there, lots of boat traffic, and make sure you know all the nav rules and all that.
Yeah, and one thing too now, a little side note on scalloping, we always run across a flounder and all, and they're legal to get, but make sure it's going from 12 inches to 14 inches. Before you gig it, you make sure, you should know, but I know a lot of y'all, I've always seen flounder and all. I pass up a bunch of small ones, but make sure, and shoot them in the head too. So,
yeah, and those, are the size limits like flounder, and they can change. If there's something you're ever unsure about, please go to myfwc.com, or there's the really good app you can download on your phone, Fish Rules. They have a website as well, to keep up with all of the regulations, because sometimes they can change overnight. I know I'll get emails that say, hey, be advised, we're going to do an emergency closure on this, or the size limit's changing on that. And if you get the printed booklets that you can get at the bait and tackle shop or Walmart or wherever, those only get printed twice a year. So that's not going to get a live update. Whereas if you have the app or our website, those will get updated more frequently. So if there's anything you are unsure about, please check it or look it up before you get
well,
it.
in case in point, the grouper regulation, because it was set for a longer date, then they sort of changed it recently, so the grouper season shortened up. So those apps are so good about that. Also, when you got what worries me, don't worry me about these pontoon boats when they're bringing a bunch of people out. Understand there's like 8 or 9 people out there. Just because you see 2 or 3 here, behind the boat will be 2 or 3 more. So be careful. A lot of these are rental pontoons, and the folks don't know really what they're doing in some situations.
Absolutely. There's been times I've pulled up to a vessel, and we'll always ask them, obviously idling in, because we see a dive flag, and we'll ask them how many people they have in the water, and I may be able to see 3, and they'll say, "Oh, we have 9 people in the water." And so my first thought is, holy cow, where are these other people? Are they are they lost? Are they far away from the boat? So just keep that in mind. That's a really good point that, if you see a dive flag, just because you know the rules and know you need to stay within 100 yards of that dive flag, those people may not. So always be very vigilant and looking around, especially if you're getting close to any vessels that have dive flags.
And you probably need to do like an old teacher or something, have a roll call every 30 minutes or something. Everybody call their name out and have them stand up. Well, Chris, we run out of time again, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I always appreciate coming on here.
We appreciate having always good information. And, if you have any questions, I'll give these guys a call and ladies a call and try to get squared away ahead of time and prevent it. So appreciate you watching Panhandle Outdoors. Y'all do something good for someone else today. You have a great day. Enjoy the outdoors. Take care of it. And God bless.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.